Another beautiful weekend of the UFC Apex Fight Night. Here we are again, UFC Vegas 369, whatever it is now, ever since he
Feels
started
like
this with COVID. Um, but yeah, you have a good card this weekend. I'm excited about it. I think it'll be a good matchup between Fiziev and Gamrot. These guys are great strikers, just well-rounded fighters who can definitely be in title contention here soon. Um, we can go ahead and give our thoughts on this. We can start off with the main event.
yeah. So this fight, both of these guys are like one step away. I feel like maybe one or two wins, and it's interesting that this fight is happening so close to the upcoming Islam Oliveira rematch. Because I'm thinking, Sean Shelby, everybody, the matchmakers are kind of thinking ahead to how are we going to shape up these divisions. I got to give them a lot of credit. I'm really digging the matchmaking lately. I feel like a lot of relevant fights are getting made towards the divisions, so we're seeing some movement. This fight, man, we've got a dude who throws a really sick 1-2, and he chains wrestling together better than pretty much everybody else in the division, maybe with the exception of a little bit of Islam. But he's got that skill set. That wrestling is relentless. His gas tank is relentless. If anyone wants to see one of the most crazy displays of just grappling and chaining together techniques, watch Mateus Gamrot versus who's that character? Armin Sarukian. Oh my God. These two dudes had an incredible fight with each other. Now, the thing is, Fiziev is striking based. His Muay Thai is incredible. We saw him light up Gaethje for the majority of their fight, and then finally Gaethje found a way to kind of pull away, hit him with some hooks, hit him with some uppercuts. And he took the fight from him. I don't feel like that's the last we're going to see of Fiziev. I'm not putting any money on this fight. I'm not willing to bet on this fight because honestly, the odds reflected, the line is close. Both of these dudes could easily take this fight. I could say Mateo's kind of forcing him to respect the takedowns too much and catching him. At the same time, I can see him rushing in and getting caught by Fiziev. Both of these dudes are just muscled out freaks. Very excited to see it. How do you guys kind of see this playing out? Because I know we visualize sometimes like how things can finish. Where are you at on this?
Simon, we're gonna rotate today. Let Simon get some of the first
All
thoughts of
right.
these fights.
Yeah, some of them dibs.
Yeah, so I went back and watched a few of their fights back when they started in the UFC. They both lost their opening fights in the UFC actually. But I went back and I've watched Fiziev's Muay Thai, and man, that guy is so smooth. He does a little matrix thing where he like bends backwards and kind of avoids the kick. Yeah, but I think I remember last year Fiziev when he beat RDA, or I think it was like a year ago. Everybody's like, man, this guy's gonna be a future champ. Like he looks awesome. And then he fought Gaethje and kind of dwindled down. He held his own for the first few rounds. But yeah, I think he has a lot of potential. Gamrot, he's had a good career so far, but he has some questionable decision wins though. That's kind of like the issue I saw. This is kind of like a classic striker versus wrestler. Um, But yeah, Fiziev has some strong hands, and that's or strong fists. He heavy hands, I should say. But like I feel like he has the advantage in this fight just because he also has great takedown defense. Gamrot obviously is going to be looking for the takedown. He likes to look for the ankles. But went back and watched some of his fights, and man, Fiziev has some great takedown defense. Um, and Gamrot, he likes to take big punches. So I don't know if you guys remember the Dariush fight, but he got popped trying to go for
Yeah.
one of the takedowns. So I think Fiziev is he's gonna have to throw those combos. He's gonna have to keep his distance a little bit and avoid the takedowns. But Gamrot is just when he goes for the takedowns, it's not like obvious, but I saw a couple of them when he was going for the takedowns, especially against Turner and Armin. But it was like kind of predictable. Like they knew it was coming, but he was like he was a lot stronger than them, so he was able to get it. But I think Fiziev's a lot stronger than Gamrot, in my opinion. So I think he's gonna be able to defend the takedowns, use that Muay Thai, maybe throw a couple of knees to defend the takedown. But yeah, I got Fiziev just. I mean, I don't know. I can see it. I can see a possible knockout. I just think Gamrot's going to get outmatched on the feet. He's going to struggle with those takedowns. That's kind of how I see the fight going.
Yeah, Fiziev's like a stack of bricks, man. He's like, you're not gonna take this guy down easily. I also, if you look at his style, Fiziev, like he's gonna march forward. We saw it in the Gaethje fight. He's gonna march forward. He's gonna throw hands. And Gamrot, I think the guy that he's gone up against is kind of similar would have to be Benil Dariush. Benil Dariush, he did pretty good against Gamrot. He won the fight, of course, but I think that was a good performance, man. And so I think Fiziev kind of has that kind of style to give Gamrot these problems. So I think Fiziev will take this fight and hopefully get back on track. You know, the Gaethje loss set him back a little bit, but he's still ranked number six in the world. So wins this fight, he's definitely in the top five, and hopefully get a title shot in the next two or three fights.
Yeah, I'd love to see him get back on track. And also, I'm just fantasizing at this point. But let's just jump ahead a couple weeks. Let's say magic happens. Oliveira somehow manages to knock out Islam Makhachev. Oh my God, what an upset that would be. And then maybe a Fiziev versus Oliveira. Oh my God. It'd be an incredible fight. It's going to take a lot of pieces for that to happen. But I definitely see those two dudes meeting each other down the road.
So you would put
Now,
Fiziev over Poirier against the winner of the Oliveira
um,
and Makhachev fight.
yeah, I love Dustin Poirier. I think that I just don't know where his career's at right now with 155. There were talks with Tim Crater, which, by the way, Tim Crater's got a fighter on this card, AJ Fletcher, against our hometown boy Brian Battle. But Tim Crater is his coach, and he was talking as well as Dustin was about moving up to 170. And I don't know how I feel about it. I really don't. I know as we age, it's really hard to cut weight, but man, it's just some of those guys up there are cutting down from such a higher weight. I just don't know what happens up there. Dustin's always had wonderful grappling, but we just have this disadvantage of seeing him against Khabib and Islam. Guess what? Everybody has a problem with them boys. Charles Oliveira is like elite black belt jiu-jitsu for MMA and still got
Yeah.
submitted. Yeah. It's very difficult. And, I just feel like it's unfair to maybe judge it based on that. But I think he's eyeing maybe a potential fight with Colby or something like that.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think Gaethje's style against Islam would not be a good situation for him. I think Gaethje's
Mm-mm.
just too guns a blazing. Islam's gonna take him down and finish him pretty early. I think if they were to go against each other. So
Be
I
a
don't know. I
repeat.
think Dustin Poirier would be a tougher fight. Probably for Islam, but for Oliveira, I would say either one, Gaethje or Poirier, be them versus Oliveira is going to be a street brawl. That's going to be fun to watch.
And then moving on down the card, guys, the earth is round. But in this guy's opinion, that shit's flat. Uh, so, anybody want
Nothing's
to introduce
nothing's
this
real to
one?
Bryce Mitchell.
Exactly. His reality is subjective. We got Bryce Mitchell against Dan Ige. Ige is a perennial contender at this weight class. Fucking love this guy. He's incredible. He's a good fighter. He's a really respectful fighter. He's always been one to not really talk a lot of trash. He had a really competitive fight with Korean Zombie about 3 fights ago, which shows me a little bit about where he's at. I think he's definitely an elite fighter, and I don't want to call him a placeholder. That's not what I mean. But I think the UFC is using him a little bit, almost like maybe a little bit of a gatekeeper position in this fight to determine where Bryce's head is at. Bryce is one of those fighters that went through his whole career up and coming, just finishes by submission over and over again. He was on fire. And then he runs into just a brick shithouse in Ilya Tapuria. That fight was scary, man. And that finish with the head and arm choke, I don't think any of us expected that if Tapuria was going to win, that's how. You would think it would have been with strikes. So he's on a get well fight here. But here's the thing, as far as get well fights go, this is a stiff challenge. It's exciting. Bryce has a little bit of something going on. I know, Brad, you were alluding to that. He's got some lady troubles possibly going on right now. So we wonder where his head's at.
Yeah, he's apparently his ex took his dog, man. You don't mess with a guy's dog. That's his heart and soul. So she took his dog, apparently, according to Bryce. And yeah, I don't want to get into it too much, but he broke her
Allegedly.
door trying to get into the house to get
Alleged.
his dog back.
Wow.
And then apparently also she was like threatening to come to his farm and kill his animals.
Oh,
And that's a farm boy, man. That's his animals are also his heart and soul. So he's
it's
carrying
getting dark.
some weight on him this weekend. We'll see if that's good or bad. In my opinion, seeing how Bryce is personally, I think it could be a positive thing for him once he gets in the octagon. Outside the octagon, probably not so positive. But I think when he's in there with Ige, I think it'll come out and he'll be able to just let go some of his frustration. And he's already an aggressive fighter, so it's going to add to it. Hopefully, he stays technical, not get too over aggressive and leave himself vulnerable. But I think he'll win this fight. Even the wrestling, I think he could possibly take it down to the mats and do some damage there as well.
Yeah, I think Bryce just has to take it down to the ground as soon as he can because we saw how bad he was on the feet against Taporia. But that's also Taporia, man. That's one of the probably the best featherweights right under Volk. So I think if Bryce can take it to the ground, he can definitely easily win this fight. Again, Ige, man, if he can keep on the feet, he can stun Bryce. I mean, we saw how much Bryce lacked in the on the feet. So I got Bryce winning this by submission. We can talk about that later, but I can see Bryce easily winning
Hmm.
this fight.
I mean,
But don't be
Bryce
surprised
did beat.
if
Okay.
Ige puts on a good show, though.
Yeah, I mean Bryce did beat Edson Barboza, which is an incredible striker. So he can
Exactly.
do both, man. He's multi-dimensional, so it's gonna be a fun fight.
This next one, boys, we got Marina Rodriguez against Michelle Watterson hyphenate Gomez. She fixed the name up. She got married. Awesome. Congratulations. Michelle is actually a really, really kind, awesome person. If you see her outside the octagon, she does a bunch of awesome stuff that she's involved in, and she's always been very gracious. And in interviews, I just feel like she gives off an energy that's really cool. It's a good vibe, which is why I want to root for her. This last fight that she had, in my opinion, this is a rematch. It's Marina coming off of a couple of losses. We were really expecting her to move up to the division, possibly fight for the title, but she got derailed by that Amanda Lemush fight. That was a little bit of a woof. It was a wake up call. It was a bad knockout. This is her coming back to a rematch of somebody that she, I don't want to say dominated. I don't think that it was competitive, but it was a bit of a snoozer. It was a bit cautious, maybe a little shades of that Holland Jack de la Madalena fight where we're saying hey, there's a little bit of a sparring aspect to it. They weren't willing to take a chance very much. I think they were being very conservative and respecting each other's strikes. Michelle kicks like a mule, but she's a little undersized for the division. She used to be, I believe, atom weight champion of the Invicta organization, if I'm not mistaken, or at least fighting at atom weight, which is 105. So we got to think, guys. I mean, you going up to 115, those girls are cutting down. It's the same thing Rose dealt with Manon Fiorot. So Marina Rodriguez, she's on, a good position in the weight class she's at, number 8. This could be an opportunity for her to regain that momentum, get back on track, take care of this, make a statement. What I would like to not see in this fight is a decision. I would love to see, no matter what the outcome is, and we'll get back to that when we get to our best bets, but no matter what the outcome is, I would love to see both of these ladies go for it. This is a moment because for Michelle, also, she's getting to the tail end of her career. I don't know where she's at. I need to know where she's at. She's in that kind of cowboy place. Interesting that they used to train together a lot at Jackson Wink, now defunct Jackson Wink. It's an interesting tank they came from. John Jones came from there as well. It's intriguing. I don't think it's going to capture the heart and soul of the casuals out there, and I understand why.
Yeah, I mean, both of these girls are closer to 40 than they are 30. So definitely a tail end of their careers. I think, like you said, Marina Rodriguez has the advantage. She's taller. I think this will be a boring fight. I think it'll go to decision. She's going to use her jab. And then, of course, Michelle has her karate style. So I think they'll keep their distance and just kind of just touch each other up like Kevin Holland did with Madalena last weekend. They're kind of like a sparring match more than anything. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. They're getting old, so their time is coming up short. And to be honest, I'll give you my honest opinion. I don't think either of these two fighters are going to be making a run at the title in the next year or two.
I
So
agree.
hope they have a great performance. But there's not, in all respect, there's not much promise for these two of getting to the title.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, they're definitely getting a lot older and they really don't have anywhere else to really go. I don't see any title runs coming up. So I think this is kind of like their last big fight, kind of get that rematch in. And then I don't know. I don't know where they want to go from here. I think Michelle might be done almost after this fight if she loses. So she has that at stake. So all right, let's go ahead and move on to Brian Battle and AJ Fletcher. um, Brian Battle's a local. We saw him at UFC Charlotte with the knockout. He had the awesome walkout to Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill. That was sick. The crowd loved it. Um, but yeah, what do you guys see this fight going?
Okay. This is
Oh,
I'll make my pick on this. Yeah, because it's not a part of my best bets, so I'll pick it. I've been watching AJ Fletcher a lot just to see what Brian's dealing with. I've seen pretty much all of Brian so far. That Takashi Sato, ooh, the head kick was so beautiful. But then he fought that Renat Frednikov guy, which I don't know what UFC was doing. They put him against a guy that is literally just a monster. He's on a tear. He's like got an insane, I think it was an 8 to 12 fight win streak or something like this. This guy was all over him. He was gigantic. His wrestling was Khabib-esque. His ground and pound was savage. That's the one blemish with Brian. And to be honest, Brian stayed in that fight. He did his best to try to use his jiu-jitsu off his back. AJ's an interesting cat. Trains with Tim Crater and Dustin Poirier down there in Louisiana. And AJ's kind of like he's very compact. He's got his arms are about 2 feet long, but he makes it work. It's interesting. He gets on the inside. He said in his last fight against I think it was Dacumba or something like that. He won by submission. He goes, "Reach doesn't mean shit." Here's the deal. It does though, and I feel like Brian, if he can stay away, uses explosive kicks. That's one of his best weapons. It's what Dom even called that. One of his best weapons is always the kicks, head kicks. I think that he could set AJ up from a distance. I think he can put him out with one of those. I think it could be a repeat of the Sato fight. But at the same time, AJ, he could grind this out and make everybody real pissed off. Because I listen, he's a hometown boy. I love Brian. He's a good fighter. I think the audience responds well to him. I don't think people want to see him lose. They don't. I think he's got this. I do.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think too. You said knockout, right? Leg kick. Is that what you said?
Maybe a head kick or something like that. I can see maybe a
Head
body
kick.
kick.
Okay.
He's stunning him, finishing him on the ground, maybe TKO.
Yeah, honestly too, I would like to see a submission because we saw in Ultimate Fighter he submitted Petrosky, and we've seen recently how good Petrosky is at wrestling in his ground game. So yeah, man, I think Brian Battle definitely has this. He's definitely continually improved throughout his early career in the UFC. Ever since Tough, I feel like every fight he's gotten better. He did have that loss, but I feel like I said, he's getting better. And honestly, I would love to see a submission in this. We can talk about that later, but I think there's an opportunity to see how much more he has improved because he should have, he definitely, I think he will.
yeah, I think this will be a fun just to see where Brian's at, right? He's
Yeah.
got great jiu-jitsu. He trains here in Charlotte. Great academy. He trains consistently as well with jiu-jitsu guys. That's the thing. Like a lot of these MMA guys train jiu-jitsu with MMA guys. Brian trains
Mm-mm.
jiu-jitsu with jiu-jitsu practitioners, legit, like only jiu-jitsu practitioners. So that's their world, and he goes into their world and trains with them, which is gives him a huge advantage in my opinion. So I think this would be fun to see his jiu-jitsu come to play here. We haven't quite seen it yet, but I think this could be an opportunity where he gets to showcase like the well-roundedness that he has. If he doesn't get him on the feet, but we might get him there. But I think if it gets to the ground, I think he'll surprise a lot of people with how good his wrestling defense is or his jiu-jitsu to get out of bad situations. So that's what I'm excited about to see in this fight, just to see like how good his ground game is because I know he works hard in the ground game, even though we've only seen knockout after knockout in his past few fights.
And don't forget, there is a toxic fandom of boxing that has infected the MMA circuit. So if you look at this, people will be like, fighter will come up, be successful, have a good run, and then he has one loss. Oh, that guy's trash. That guy's
Yeah.
trash now all of a sudden. Like they put him up against a guy that is so talented that I gotta say there is absolutely no shame at this point in his career that he has that loss. People need to stop applying that same rule. In boxing, they build guys up, give them cans for a million fights before they give them somebody challenging. It's not that they're not good fighters, it's just they build people very carefully. In MMA, there's so many ways to lose. There's so many ways to lose. So you cannot apply that same logic where it's like, well, guess what? That guy's got one loss. He's trash. No, dude. Look at Sean Strickland, man. 3 fights ago he lost to Jared Cannonier, and now he's the champ. Like you can't like just write people off. No, in the interest of time, though, I definitely see him taking this thing. But just moving down to the opener of the main card before we get into the best bets. Charles Air Jourdain. This guy is so fun. Yeah, I remember he like Spartan kicked somebody into hell at one point. The dude is just wild. His striking is incredible. He's a nice switch knees. That being said, he is one of those guys that likes to win pretty. He likes to win in a way that's aesthetically pleasing. He likes getting into firefights with guys, and sometimes that can go a little bit sideways. I believe he had a pretty competitive fight with a Rosa, but I might be wrong there, so I don't want to go off on that too much. But Ricardo Ramos, this could be a trap fight for Jourdain. As much as I want to pick Jourdain, I feel like Ricardo Ramos is on the come up. This guy's actually got some crisp hands at times, and his grappling's on point. I feel like it's a very exciting fight, but I think this is really going to be a turning point for Jourdain, because is he on the come up? Is he really going to make a run at it, or is he going to be in that middle position where, let me give you an example. We brought up Cowboy earlier. They call it an action fighter. Those people that always put on bangers, but they might not necessarily end up being the champion. I wonder if that's his place. Doesn't matter either way. Still exciting as hell to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's tough too
go
with
ahead, Simon.
Charles Jourdain. His last fight against Gracie didn't really show us much. It was more just how bad
Should
Gracie
have
was,
finished
not
him.
how good Charles Jordan is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like to see where he's at in his career. I think this is definitely a test, and this definitely could be a trap fight. I would have to agree with you. I'm leaning towards Jourdain in this fight, but I think this might be one of the best fights on the card, if not the main card.
Mm.
Yeah, this could be fight of the night potential, for sure. Both these guys are young, 27, 28 years old. Just real quick to touch on the fight. Charles Jourdain, his fight against Andre Ewell. Do you remember that fight where he did like the
Mm.
kick at the end, just
He's
like a
screaming.
like a
Yeah.
warrior style, just like wild. So this he's impressive, man. But then Ramos, you saw his last fight with the spinning elbow. He's caught a few guys with that move. So both these guys are just dangerous on the feet. It's going to be a war, and I think it's fight of the night, potential guaranteed. But I would stay away from this fight as far as betting goes for sure. There's not really underdog in this fight. It's pretty neck and neck, so there's not much value to play, as it is a toss up in my opinion.
Yeah,
I
I don't have a
agree.
feeling for this one. Yeah. Speaking of
This
feelings,
is
guys.
yeah.
Go ahead, Simon.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, in terms of the best bets, we wanted to take a little bit of time to give our picks. This is my opportunity to dig myself out of the hole that I've dug by being a degenerate and picking massive underdogs and riding the edge, being an edge lord. Uh, who wants to kick us off with their picks for this upcoming Saturday night?
I went first last week, so we can change it up this week. We can go with you first, Alex.
So here's the deal. We got on the prelim card, Muhammad Usman versus Jake Collier County, Florida Collier. This guy, interesting cat. He looks like he would knock you out in the back of a 7-Eleven and take your prime energy right out of your hands. This is just something, man. He's a big old boy. So I have a feeling that Muhammad Usman is perhaps tired of living in the shadow of Big Brother. I think he's a freaky athletic heavyweight, and I got a feeling he's going to come out and starch Jake. So I've got Muhammad. I don't feel confident to pick the method, but I definitely have Muhammad Usman. I've got him on this fight. Usman is going to take this thing out. My next pick, okay? I had it written down. I got to get it out. Hold on one second. My next pick is Marina Rodriguez. I feel like she's a lock. I don't feel like Michelle has a path to victory here. She's only gotten older. And yes, both fighters have fought each other before. It's an opportunity to game plan, but I think that only benefits Marina here. She, like you mentioned, Brad, her jab is sick. She does have a nice jab. When you build off a jab, touch, 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 all you got to do is touch them. And that sets up everything else from there. So if she can do that, I think she's got this fight locked. This is not a big, obviously it's a huge, massive favorite, but it's hard to pick against. Last pick, Bryce Mitchell. For me, I feel like he's going to come in here with a mission to prove that he still belongs. and I think he's going to put it on him. I definitely have Bryce. I don't think I have a finish on this one either. I think it might be a grueling kind of fight, a little bit of a decision. I think Dan might have his moments in those moments, but at the end, I think I got Bryce taking this thing out. So recap: Muhammad Usman, Marina Rodriguez, and Bryce Mitchell. Those are my locks for this weekend.
Not too bad. Not too bad. You got a chance to be plus money this week.
I
Decent.
think I
Small
think it's
chance,
better.
but
I think it's better than last week.
got some ground to make up for, that's for sure. All right, Simon, give it to
All
us.
right, yeah, I'm gonna kick it off. So I'm going back to the prelims. I'm going with my man Andre Fiallo. He's had a rough, not a rough career, I would say, but kind of questionable
Rocky.
career in the UFC so far. But I mean, I think he has a ton of talent. He trains with Kill Cliff FC, I think. So he's got a good team around him. Tim Means is just he's old, man. He's getting towards the end of his career. I think he's got a loose chin on him, so I'm going with Andre Fiallo by knockout. Um, I'm not sure. I'm sure it has to be plus odds. I'm not completely sure, but yeah, I'm going
That's a good
Andre
pick.
Fiallo by knockout. Just Tim. You know those older fighters, man. I think they can get knocked out pretty easy. And yeah. So then for my next pick, going back up to the main card, I'm gonna go. We kind of talked about this like 2 minutes ago, but I'm gonna go Brian Battle by submission. Um, Brad said the best. He wanted to see how his jiu-jitsu looked. I think I can see him definitely getting a submission just like he did in Tough against Petrowski. So yeah, Brian Battle by submission. And then I'm gonna scroll back up just a little bit. I'm gonna touch on Bryce Mitchell as well. Uh, I feel like he's gonna win, and I think he's gonna win. It's gonna be by submission. It's 3 rounds, obviously, so not have to worry about it going super deep. But yeah, I think I got Bryce Mitchell by submission on this one. With Ige being predominantly a striker, you know, it's classic the Khabib look where it's a striker versus a wrestler. Wrestler's always gonna win and get a submission. That's kind of what I mean. A lot of people have been changing that outlook. So yeah, I'm gonna go Bryce Mitchell by submission.
Okay. All right, for the leader after week one, I'll go ahead and make my picks. All right, first
Self-professed
pick,
leader.
first pick. Give me the Jake Collier visual, Simon, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we got to see Jake
Jake
Collier again.
Collier, the
That's
guy behind the 7-Eleven Motel 6 with a pack of 24s in his pocket. This dude's he's gonna beat Usman. He's gonna do it. He's lost like what his last 3 fights.
Yeah, three in a
He's fighting
row.
for a paycheck. He's got to provide for his family. He's gonna come out swinging. This is a chance to stay in the UFC, in my opinion. I think he loses this fight. He's getting close to being on his way out. I think he lost 4 of his last 5 fights, so it's not looking good for him. And he's not going to take a step back in this fight. And I don't think, in my opinion, Usman doesn't do good going against guys who walk him down. I think if he has like the confidence, when the confidence is high and he's walking forward and guys look a little bit intimidated, that's when he's at his best. He's not going to see that against Jake Collier. Jake Collier is not going to take a step back towards him. He's not going to be intimidated by his size, athleticism. I'm taking Jake Collier, my first pick. My second pick, I'm going to go. I don't want to take Fiallo because I know he was already taken. I will go with the over on Dan Argueta and Miles Johns. Miles Johns
mm,
is he has a few knockout finishes, but he's a wrestler and he's not really an aggressive striker that goes for the knockouts. Dan Argueta is also a wrestler. These two guys are going to battle back and forth on the ground. I don't think either one of them will get a submission. I see this going over. I believe it's 2.5 rounds. What is listed at for my last pick. You guys pick some good ones. I hate going last. You guys do my best bets, but you know what? We're still going to come out on top again. Uh, I'm not sure what the odds are for this, but I'm gonna go Marina Rodriguez, Michelle Waterson Gomez, the over with that as well. Again, like we said, these two fighters are not the most exciting to watch. They keep their space. They touch, like a sparring session. I see this going over. I don't expect this to be plus money, but I think it is a lock. So that's my third pick.
mm. Did you pick Argetta
I did
or
the over.
Johns?
The
You did
over.
the over. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah.
That's an
So
interesting
change
fight.
things up a little bit this week. Although Jake Collier is the dog, I'm excited for this fight. The most
What a
excited fight
dog.
on the prelims is this fight.
Wow. Yeah, it is two
Bragging
guys.
rights, bragging rights, stylistically, just the storyline. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I
All
like it.
right. That's it for the episode. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, help us out. We're having some fun doing this. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Peace.
Take it easy.